Great.
So hello, everybody.
Hello. Yes, this is a first for us. It's our coronavirus special, self-isolating and yet managing to do a VC video at the same time.
Yeah, 60 miles away from each other.
Indeed. And a rare insight into John's record room.
Yeah, well, actually it's my front room, this one.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't actually get in the record room. Felt like I was a mad person, completely buried by records.
Yeah. So this is probably one of the first months, John. I mean, we occasionally miss a month, but I mean, generally we manage to actually do a session every month, and we've been doing it for years and years and years.
Yeah, even before we started making YouTubes.
Oh yeah, I mean at least 25 years plus, I reckon.
Easily, yeah.
Easily, yeah. So anyway, we're keeping it going, and we thought it might be nice, kind of to recognize what the hell's going on, and talk a little bit about how we're coping with it and what we're listening to.
Yeah. So we have no idea what, as usual. The one thing is we have no idea what each other's going to show.
No, we've just decided that there's going to be 10 records each.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, it started off like thinking I was doing some kind of Desert Island Discs essential kind of set of music that I needed, and then it was more actually what I've actually been really listening to in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. What should I kick off, John?
You kick off.
I'll kick off with Donny Hathaway, Extensions of a Man. Just, such a beautiful voice, and actually kind of epic arrangements on this particular album. The first track, I Love the Lord, He Heard My Cry, which moves into Someday We'll All Be Free. Also tunes that I've been playing on the radio show, and I'm also now doing the radio show from home, so I'll stick a link under this. But yeah, I mean, Donny, in times of trouble, what a voice to listen to. Yeah. He just kind of somehow has it all going on.
Completely, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? He didn't really make that many records in the end, did he?
No.
Actually? And they're so crucial, I think, was the 4 or 5 records he made. Actually.
Yeah, and still not really, I don't feel enough people know about him.
No. I think he's hugely underrated still, actually.
But hugely influential.
Oh, completely. So I thought, there's something about that kind of period of soul music, which is very kind of nourishing, I think, in a way. And I went for, I've been listening to I've been listening to a whole range of that period kind of vocal groups, stylistics and spinners and all that kind of stuff. And I think this is possibly my favorite stylistics record. So great stuff. And there's something just kind of instantly familiar, but always kind of gets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. I think you listen to their music. Absolutely extraordinary. Great production by Tom Bell. Arranged. And this one's got Children of the Night and one of my favorite pieces by them called Pieces. Actually.
Is that the one which has got a dog in the title?
No. Not this one.
Or something's a dog.
Payback is a dog.
Yes.
That's not on this one.
No, it's not on that one.
No, that's a great tune.
That's a great tune. Yeah.
So I think anything from that kind of period for me is just fantastic.
Yeah.
This is a gem.
Beautiful. Well, I was listening to this last night, in fact. This is the Japanese pressing of Flood, Herbie Hancock, the live, I mean, also one of my favorite album covers, actually. But the sound for a live recording, this is one of the best live recording sounds there is. And it's the version of Butterfly every time. There's so many different versions of Butterfly, but for me, this one just has the absolute best bass playing from Paul Jackson on it. And the drumming of Mike Clark and Herbie's playing and everything is just totally happening. There's a kind of slightly weird version of Chameleon that comes after this that I'm not so keen on. But everything else, and particularly Butterfly, just immaculate.
I played Butterfly from Direct Step this morning, actually.
That's nice as well. Slightly more disco-y.
Very much more disco-y, yeah, definitely. So I have to say, we obviously don't know. So my next one up is Charlie Hayden and there's a great documentary that's up for free actually for a couple of months on Vimeo. A really good documentary about Charlie Hayden, really fascinating guy, actually. And kind of nothing kind of new that you didn't know about him, but just really nicely put together. And this particular band is Quartet West, which he formed, as the name implies, on the West Coast. Has an amazing kind of sound, as only Watts plays, and saxophone. He's got such a, and it really kind of conjures up kind of film noir kind of feel to it. And so it was a band with initially with Billy Higgins, but then Lawrence Marable took over on drums, and Alan Broadbent on piano. And it's just a great, it's acoustic music that are really amazing kind of sound, and really any of their records are just great.
What year is this, John?
This was the first one. This was 1980, I think, 86. Or so.
Okay.
So quite but they must have made singers, some with almost like sampling bits of music from the 40s and 50s as well. But this was the first one, which has just got it's got a track on it called Heritage, which is absolutely amazing, which is written by Pat Metheny, actually. Very good stuff. Nice.
Well, next up, actually, this is a relatively recent pressing. I've got a much older pressing of this. This was the second ever Miles Davis album that I got, and there was a friend.
We 12 though.
No. I was 12 when I got Bitch's Brew, but I was
right.
more like about 18, I think, when I got this. And a friend called Colin Schofield, who was in the very first band I was ever in at school. He was the drummer. He told me about this album, and he just said it's a very, very different kind of Miles album. And I think the word ambient didn't even yet exist as a thing, but certainly the kind of mood of this, and even at the type, well, In a Silent Way and Shush Peaceful is exactly the kind of emotions that you need to kind of tap into. I think it's kind of a bit crazy at the moment, and as ever, Miles delivers. I also watched the Birth of the Cool thing on BBC Two, I think it was, which was good to see.
Yeah,
don't know if it was.
It was kind of okay, wasn't it? It wasn't.
It's okay.
Massively revealing.
There was a really weird bit where they were talking about sort of psychedelic rock and how musicians couldn't play, and then bizarrely showed a bit of Terry Reid, which I thought was a very odd.
That's right.
Terry Reid was a very good musician.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I read something about Terry Reid this week, actually. I can't remember what it was, actually.
He's still alive?
No, something to do with something where he was the only person to experience some kind of amazing event somewhere or other, back in the 60s, actually. Right. Something quite surprising. So talking about psychedelic, some Prince, really. And I think this is my favourite Prince album, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I just love this record, actually, and always have done. And it was interesting hearing Mark played a track from a Michelle kind of bootleg where her playing at Paisley Park, where she did a version of Tambourine, and I just love that track on here, actually. So yeah, you always need some Prince, actually, and this will cheer everybody up, actually, especially things like Raspberry Beret. So, so Round the World in a Day, the purple one.
Last night I was listening to this. I listened to the whole of this album, all 4 sides. This is a Moon-Shaped Pool by Radiohead, which I remember listening to quite a bit when it came out. And then just listening to it again last night, it's just got such an amazing mood to it. It's got this real kind of melancholy, but it's not too sad. It's just it's another kind of sonic space, which is quite comforting. Which I don't think is a word you'd necessarily would use for most Radiohead albums, actually.
No, there's always a slightly dark edge to their stuff, actually, which I think makes it last a bit longer, though. It reveals more over a period of time.
Yeah, but I mean, beautiful sonics on this, and some lovely sort of strings, and amazing production, and certainly worth listening again, worth revisiting. I think it's a great album, actually.
I'm definitely going to dig into that one.
All the way through.
Talking about things that reveal themselves, but we showed this at the last proper session, but this has just been great to listen to. I mean, it's so unusual to get a new record, actually, where you have the opportunity in a weird kind of way to listen to it a lot, actually, and it just reveals more and more each playing. Really, it's new Pat Metheny, kind of epic. Feels like it was kind of incredibly timely somehow or other, even before the virus kind of hit. very highly recommended. Great stuff, actually. I mean, people have been going mad about this quite rightly, actually. And it's got some beautiful guest appearances. Michelle Ndegeocello does a great appearance on it, and yeah, really, really good. Really fantastic bass playing on it. Linda Ho is on here, so absolutely amazing bass
Really?
playing.
See, I'm still waiting. I ordered it from the local Creekside Vinyl, and he's disappeared now, of course. There's no record
copy
shops
of Pat
anymore.
Metheny. That's what I did.
Yeah, with my copy of Pat Metheny. So at some stage, I've been listening to quite a bit of reggae for some reason. Again, just feels slightly kind of apocalyptic. Some, especially some roots reggae is quite apocalyptic. This is Israel Vibration. This is their second album, Unconquered People. They were, I think, I don't know, not sure. Doug would be able to tell us what their current status is, but this was recorded, I think, in the late 70s. Two of Israel Vibration have polio. They have very sort of delicate, sort of classic reggae trio harmonies, and they've got an amazing band, basically Aston Barrett and Carlton Barrett, drum and bass, Augustus Pablo's on the piano, and it's basically the Wailers with Augustus Pablo on the piano. And this is a great album, highly recommended if you like your roots reggae. Really, really good sound.
I remember you playing that to me about 30 years ago, actually. I love that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But actually, because Charlie Hayden had polio as well, that was another kind of...
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's where he's got Charlie Hayden's voice has always sounded quite strange in a way. And and what happened when he had polio, his vocal cords were paralyzed. That's why he has that kind of slightly constrained kind of voice as well.
And David Sanborn as well, of course.
David Sanborn as well. A lot of people, a couple of friends of mine as well. Yesterday on YouTube, Bob Dylan posted up a new 17-minute track, which is absolutely extraordinary.
Is it?
And yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, it's kind of it's basically a song about JFK's assassination, but it's not really about that at all. It's about all kinds of things. And there aren't many records and many tunes that name check Bud Powell and whole loads of people in it. It's kind of like a really interesting, almost like some kind of summing up of the 20th century, something like that. Really extraordinary piece of music. And I kind of got a lot of people don't know Bob Dylan, and I know this, I always say this when I show you stuff, but I've got all his records, but I often find myself playing this box set, which came out back in the mid 80s as well, which is just a great selection. So it's a 5 or 6, a 10 five record set, but really well put together. And it's one of the first kind of big artist compilations of these kinds, actually really well curated. Great notes and so forth. And I think if you want to buy one Bob Dylan thing, buy this actually. It's got loads of tracks from different types. It's not sequenced in chronologically. It's kind of from all over his career, but really well put together. And great kind of track by track notes from Bob as well. And really cheap still. I mean, you can still buy this for about £25.
You know, I don't have any Bob Dylan albums, John.
I think this is the one to get. and really nicely good sound, mastered by Greg Calby. Sounds good.
Wow. Another reggae album. This was bizarrely released on the Beats Go Feet label. I guess it would be in the very early 80s, 1980s. So the Beat, the the two-tone scarmongers of the late 70s had a very short-lived record label and re-released this Lee Perry produced classic, Heart of the Congos. Again, I think I'm slightly yearning for music that takes you to a very different kind of space, and there's a twinkly magic in the sort of phased echo reverb world of Lee Perry, particularly from this period, which also feels very comforting. And a place of great spiritual upliftment, I think, as well. Yeah,
the vocals kind of float over the top of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, things like Row Fisherman Row, it's just amazing.
Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous. So we've got a lot of time on our hands at the moment. So I've been digging into the Grateful Dead a bit, actually. And one of the things about the Dick's Picks series is that they often have almost complete shows on them. So you can actually go through, it's almost like kind of going through a whole kind of story, really. And there's always kind of terrible bits of Grateful Dead shows and really inspiring bits. And it's quite nice to have the time to actually listen right through to them. This is from 1974. This is number 12 in the series. And this is a particularly good one, actually, I have to say. I mean, kind of consistent all the way through. These are now going for kind of ridiculous amounts of money. And the vinyl reissues of some of these are going for like hundreds and hundreds of pounds, actually, which is kind of
really
interesting. Yeah, but this was, I mean, basically you could pick any of them, actually, but this one, if you can find it, this one was re-released actually a little while ago as well. It's a really good one. And some great guitar playing from Joe Garcia. Just around the time I saw them, I think I said in one of our videos as well, around 74.
This is a record that John showed at the last session and is very much a cover of Two Halves. That's the kind of slightly cooler cover, but very unfortunately, this is what the actual cover was. But
sponsored by a shampoo company.
As we've often said, or sponsored by Head and Shoulders.
Yeah.
Don't let this cover put you off. I think this is possibly my favourite Terry Reid album.
Yeah, me too.
And I've been really getting off on the track called The Frame. I hadn't realised Fred Wesley had done all the horn arrangements on this. Yeah, I mean, a UK very soulful artist, but yeah, I mean, he kind of sort of is in that kind of blues rock soul bracket, but I feel he's an awful lot more than that.
Much more than that.
Something.
I think famously he was going to be in Led Zeppelin, wasn't he?
He was going to be in Led Zeppelin, yeah. So Terry Reid.
Produced by Graham Nash, I think that's, wasn't it?
It is. And it's called Seed of Memory.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go massive left turn now.
Go on then, John.
When we do our sessions, we don't really play much classical music. We don't play any classical music, actually. But I kind of actually spend a lot of time listening to classical music. And I've been thinking about, I mean, Debussy particularly is such a massive influence on a lot of the music we listen to now, actually. And it's sometimes good to almost go back to the source. And some of his orchestral, almost like tone poems, are just fantastic. And La Mer, which is, of course, about the sea, and also his Prelude to an Afternoon of the Faun, just beautiful pieces of music, actually. And yeah, if you want stuff you can completely dive into and just disappear into, great music. So and this is a particularly favourite record, actually, and the versions and the kind of performances are great on it. So yeah, try some Debussy, actually.
Well, I have to say, towards the end of the last year, I was getting so sick of listening to Radio 4 and news about Brexit that I just moved. I moved over to Radio 3, which for those who don't live in the UK is a kind of classical music station, but sort of not just cheesy. I mean, interesting stuff, and actually a fair bit of jazz and some world music and some kind of odd stuff. And actually, that's been a great aid to well-being. Actually, is to listen to a lot less news and a lot more classical music. It's very nice. So an album which I think I'd been looking at one of those Discogs blogs about the best albums of the decades, and it was in the 70s, and this album popped up, which this is my mum's copy of Tea for the Tillerman. This is a proper kind of pink, I don't know whether you all know what an island pink label looks like, but this obviously came, this was, you know, she bought it when it came out. It's Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman. And I'd just been, again, listening to it this week after not hearing it for years and years, and remembering sort of it being played while we sort of ate, you know, often. The record player was in our front room. We always put music on whenever we ate. And this was definitely a regular feature. So there's been something quite comforting. And actually just remembering what great songs are on here and what a great sound there is. Great arrangement. Yeah,
it's great sounding record, that one. I was reading somewhere that somebody was saying it's one of the best sounding records of that kind of period. Production and everything else. Okay, and still staying in left field. Next up, I have Long Player.
Oh,
Long Player is a piece of music that I was involved in. It's produced, written, and thought about by Jem Finer. He conceived of the whole idea of it. Jem was in the Pogues for a long time, and famously co-wrote Fairy Tale of New York and other things. But then he went into a completely different mode, really, and started getting more involved with technology and also with music. And he made this piece of music that plays for 1,000 years without changing, without repeating itself, rather, all the way through the 1,000-year period. And this was a record that came out of 4 extracts from long play. It came out about 15 years ago. But long play is a great thing to have around. I mean, if you go to longplayer.org, and we'll put that in the notes actually, you can stream it continuously and you can have it in the background. I know a lot of people play it while they're working or just around the house and so forth. And it always changes. So it's an algorithm that changes, the music changes all the way through. And the music's based on Tibetan bowls, singing bowls. And this was a very nice kind of book, and it's a record, a 12-inch record and a book, which shows you all the stuff about long play, about its history and so forth in here as well. But it's a great thing to have around, and it's incredibly calming, actually. I mean, it's a very, in normal times you can go to a lighthouse in London and sit in the lighthouse and listen to it. But so yeah, long play.
Lovely.
A good tool to have around.
Next up, more reggae. This was this takes me back to the very late 70s, and sort of discovering Aswad. This is their second album. This is the album which featured the bass playing of George Oban, who went on to form the group Motion. And it's just a very, very gentle, sort of jazzy reggae album. There's a lot of nice solos on it. It's very kind of mellow, but it's also very distinctively UK in sound. It's got that great drumming of Angus Drummy Zeb or Gay. And I just really like it. It again just took me back to a really nice place in my first year as a student, and many great memories.
Definitely. They all lived. I can actually virtually see where they lived as well from my house.
Yes, absolutely. West
They
London.
lived just literally up the road, around the corner.
Yeah.
It was the Aswad house. Yeah. So my last one is Eliane Radigue, who's a French composer who worked on the ARP 2500, and produces incredible kind of drone pieces. And this is from her record called Trilogie de la Mort, which is based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And if you like drone music, this is as good as it gets, basically. I mean, it kind of nourishes you and almost enters your body, actually, while you listen to it. Fills a room with sound. And I had a great privilege to work with her on a project just a few years ago. And she's a wonderful woman. And this is just, it's a triple CD set. Unfortunately, you can never really put it on vinyl because all the pieces are an hour long.
Okay.
They're kind of, I mean, they just fill the room. It's quite a weird listening experience because it just sounds like the room starts filling up with sound. Almost layers and layers of it. So it's kind of very interesting, kind of sonically, and also incredibly peaceful, incredibly kind of restful music as well. So this is Eliane Radigue, Trilogie de la Mort.
Lovely. And John, we were going to share something we'd been watching and listening to during this time of so I've actually been in self-isolation because my wife got coronavirus about 12 days ago. So that meant the whole family couldn't go out. She's fine, but it's definitely taken its toll on her. But it's been really strange not only being able to take a dog out, not being able to go to any shops or anything. So Tuesday I'm going to be very excited to go to the local corner shop. I'm sure it's going to be hugely disappointing. What have you been reading, John?
I just finished rereading a book by Jonathan Lethem.
Ah, yes.
Which is a book called Fortress of Solitude, which is it's a story about 2 kids who basically grow up, one of whom is black and one of whom is white. And they both have it's a kind of mixture of music and superheroes and all kinds of things going on there. And there's a kind of very interesting kind of subplot, which is, I'm sure that one of the characters in the book is actually Felipe, based on Felipe Wynne, who of course was in The Spinners and in Funkadelic as well. And it's a great story, actually. Jonathan Leeson's a brilliant writer, I think. And it's just a really interesting, kind of funny, engaging, kind of very thick, a lot of it as well, actually. Definitely worth the read. I mean, if you're interested in comics and if you're interested in superheroes and music and what that means when you're growing up as a kid, And those two things were pretty fundamental to me growing up.
And me,
so
absolutely.
Definitely worth reading.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading Inflamed Invisible, which is collected writings on art and sound from David Toop from 1976 to 2018. So David Toop, I think, is one of the best writers about music. I mean, it's very thoughtful, and it's kind of dense in a way. I mean, there's no skim reading with any of his stuff. And it's the sort of, you read a fairly slim article and then it's time to go to sleep, but you've kind of absorbed quite a lot. So it's quite a nice book to kind of dip into and just take your time with. And he just goes all over the place in terms of styles and genre. There's a really kind of open mind to music and to sound, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't realize you were going to show that one. I was going to show his autobiography as well, but I'll show that next time. We'll do another one.
We will. And John, go on.
Just quickly, I've also reread this Charles Sean Murray biography of Jimi Hendrix called Crosstown Traffic, which is actually really good. I read it when it came out, and some of it seems of its time, actually, but it's a much better book than I remember, actually. Definitely.
This actually arrived through the post, and I don't know anything about it apart from the fact that Michel Ndegeocello recommended it. It's Bright Shiny Morning by James Frey, and it seems to be a book all about LA. But next time we meet, I'll tell you what it was like. And what are you watching, John?
I'm watching something called The Expanse at the moment, which is the third series, which is on, in the UK, it's on Amazon Prime, but I think it might be on CBS in America. Kind of a little bit, if you saw the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, it's got a little bit of that kind of feel to it as well. It's kind of science fiction stuff, pretty good. I've been watching quite a lot of documentaries. All kinds of bits and pieces, actually. I seem to have about 4 different series on the go at the moment.
I have
too much content.
There is. I'm up to series 5 of BoJack Horseman. In fact, just about to get to the end of it. I think it's one of the best things I've ever seen on telly, actually. But I think you have to persevere a little bit. You need to get about halfway through series 2 before you start realizing the depth of what's really going on. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And for total kind of get away from it all ness, watched on Mother's Day with my daughters and Gemma was the new version of Emma. Which actually was very good. Yeah,
which I was thinking, well, it's a good director. I think I was thinking about watching that today, actually. So
yeah, it's great. It's really good. Yeah, surprising. And the other thing I've been really enjoying is Shaun the Sheep, because there's no speaking at all.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah. So yeah, lots of good stuff. And but do check out the Charlie Hayden documentary.
Yes,
I think it's only up for a limited period of time. It's really worth watching, actually. Great.
And we'll see you soon. Maybe we might even be doing this a bit more regularly. But
another one. Yeah.
Let us know if you like this new self-isolation format. I was thinking maybe we could even invite another guest from the VC to join us.
Guest, couldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. If you're interested in joining us, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be really cool. Okay. Till next time.
Keep
washing your hands.
Keep safe.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.